Hey, how you doing? Nope, my name's not Norm, but this is another episode of This Old Mower. I'm the lawnmower lady, and I like fixing small engines. Gonna do a little tune-up on this mower. Oil change, of course, it's overfilled like they all are. I don't know why, but we'll be checking over the air filter, the spark plug, but it does have a few issues and problems that I'm gonna try to get fixed up, and hopefully this mower will be a little safer and a little better after I do this tune-up on it. Follow along. This mower is a good old Craftsman, 6.5 horsepower. It has the good old Quantum engine on it. Craftsman model 9173888741, made in the good old USA. It's seen some better days, but it's still in pretty good shape. Not a lot of rust on it. I'm gonna give this thing a fire up. It actually does run. It smokes a little bit because it's overfilled with oil. I'm going to show you a couple little problems it has. I don't know if you noticed the back cover raising on and off there. That's a little danger problem because, and I'll show you what's happened here. The problem is this spring is broken, actually broken on both sides, so it's not going to attach anything. I'll probably wind up just drilling a hole right there and putting a wire tie or something in there. Okay, this mower is sort of in hot rod mode. I don't know if you can tell, but the rear end is lowered, and these are kind of seized up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lubricate the mechanism on these wheels, so hopefully by the time we get around towards the end of this, we'll be able to raise and lower those wheels with ease. I typically like to use any sort of penetrating oil. This happens to be PB Blaster. Spray that right in where the mechanism is, where that thing rotates. And I do that on all four wheels. And hopefully by the time we're done with the rest of this tune-up, it'll be nice and loosened up. First thing I'm going to do is take off the spark plug boot because I'm going to be taking the blade off to check that. And this is a 21 millimeter magnetic socket. I prefer that. You can also use a 13/16 inch socket. This plug, as you can see, is pretty well gagged up because the oil has been overfilled for who knows how long, but we'll be replacing that plug. And checking the oil here. I'd already checked this before, but it is definitely overfilled. Briggs & Stratton, you do need to push it all the way in to check it. And as you can see, hopefully, there are two holes on here, and the oil level should be between those two holes. There's actually little hash marks in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but, you know, I don't know why people overfill these all the time, but they do. Who knows why? Now, the nice thing about this old mower is, and I'm using a piece of wood to prop that up on, there is, as you can see, a drain plug on here. Not many of them are like that anymore, but that'll allow me to clear out all the oil and all the debris and all the sediment. All right, this oil drain plug, you can use just a straight socket extension, not a wobble socket, because you can strip out the plug that way. It doesn't go in very deep. Just tap it in just a little bit. All right. So I got a little pan to catch some oil. I'm using an extension. It's just a piece of galvanized pipe for my wrench, and hopefully we can open this up. There we go. A little bit of leverage there. Yeah, quite a bit of oil is coming out of there because it's pretty well overfilled. And I'm going to remove this piece of wood and let it sit right back down and drain the rest of it out. So while the rest of that oil drains, be checking the air filter. This is a 8mm or a 5/16 inch. And, yep, this is, had a lot of oil blow back on there. Again, just stop overfilling these things. All right, clean off as much dirt and debris as you can here. This bottom side is where it takes in all of its air. And I'm looking on the inside here. It doesn't really look that bad, but the primer bulb is working fine. It's shooting fuel up in there, and it really doesn't look that dirty, despite how bad the air filter was. So this is Briggs & Stratton. If you can see that or not. This is their paper air filter 491588S. This just fits right inside of there. Should be a tight fit all the way around. These little hinge portions right here on the bottom sort of hook in on the bottom side. And you fold this guy up like so and tighten that screw back down. All right, since this is a pretty much older engine, I'm going to check the torque on these head bolts. They tend to get loose on the side where the exhaust is. You can see there's some corrosion on here because it's always heated up faster. So I'm going to do this in a crisscross pattern. I got my torque wrench set for 140 inch-pounds. That one's done. Crisscross pattern. This is a 13mm. That took a little bit. Not too much there. Nothing there. That needed a little bit. There we go. Back over on this guy. Not much. Nothing there. And a little bit on the bottom. So these two on the bottom were kind of loose. 140 inch-pounds is not a lot. It's like 10 or 11 foot-pounds. And if you don't have a torque wrench, just make sure they are all evenly tight. So the next thing I'm going to do is replace the spark plug. This is an RJ19LM by Champion. And I'm going to check the gap on this. This is a .030 inches feeler gauge. It's a little loose in there. If you don't have a feeler gauge, the back side of a Stanley knife is .030 inches, and you can see it's a little sloppy in there. The way to fix this is just a piece of wood is fine. Just tap it on a piece of wood lightly and then double check your gap again. A little bit of drag on that. So I'm going to put this in, and all we're trying to do when we put this in is compress this crush washer. Start this by hand, and once it's seated all the way to the head, we're just going to give it 1/4 of a turn. No more than that. We really don't want to damage the threads there. Check on the inside here. There is a little bit of corrosion in there, but it looks sort of all right to me. And we're going to put the boot back on and make sure you hear that positive click. All right, that was a pretty fair amount of oil that came out of here. A lot more than should be in there. I'm going to be replacing the drain plug here. Just clean that off a little bit. Get that started by hand. And I won't be using my extension bar to tighten this guy up, because he was kind of tight the first time around. Alrighty. Leaving it sitting for a little while, I was able to adjust the rear wheels. Now the mower is level. And on this dipstick, and this is what amazes me, that these always get so overfilled, but you can clearly read on there maximum 20 ounces 591 milliliters. And there is hash marks on here right in between those two lines. Add at the bottom hole, full right there. So we want it to be right in between there. I pre-measure my oil in another oil jug, and I currently have about 18 ounces in here right now. It'll probably take a little bit more than that because we emptied it out completely. Put all that in. It's a lot easier to add oil than it is to take it back out again. And as someone much wiser than me said, the right amount of the wrong oil is better than the wrong amount of the right oil. All right. I've given it a few minutes to settle down. Put that on, tighten it in position. We're going to check the oil. Now, on one side, it sort of looks overfilled because there's still a little bit on the outside. If you turn it over, you can actually see on the dipstick right there, the stuff you see on the sides is just stuck to the sides there, but it's actually right there at the full mark. So we are good to go. Now, before I leave this side of the mower, I'm going to lubricate this end of the cable. I use a product called Tri-Flow Super Lubricant. It's what the bicycle guys use, so spray just a touch right in there. Operate the cable a couple of times because it's kind of tight. But get as much in there as I can. And the same thing on the other end. A couple spritzes. And operate the handle a couple of times. Now, what I do know is I believe I've replaced this cable once before. Because I see there's probably the label that was on there when I replaced it. And I believe the person that owns this has a less than ideal storage situation. And this cable is already starting to deteriorate from rust or moisture in here. You can tell looking at that, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a tiny little piece. One piece of steel sticking out. That's actually the inner part of the cable that holds the inner structure together. When more of those come out of there, eventually the cable's going to fail and you'll have to replace it. Still a little bit of smoke. That's from being overfilled. I'm wishing this rain would go away, but here's the little fix for the door there. I just drilled 2 small holes and wrapped it around the frame. So that should keep rocks from flying out from under the machine while it's running. As it happens, this brake cable broke on this old mower. I'm waiting for the part to come in, but in the meantime, you can watch this video right here on how to replace almost any brake cable on any old mower that you might have. If you like the video, please push the like button. It really helps the channel. Honest, it does. Thanks for watching. Remember, I'm the Lawnmower Lady, and as I'm fond of saying, mow happy.